Hello and welcome to another edition of Agenda 2063 TV show, the only show in Ghana, the region, the continent, telling you authentic stories about Africa's integration, as well as Agenda 2063. And even though we're going to spend the better part of this series talking about the African free trade area and aspects of it, we will still always come back to the mother lode of the agenda, which is Agenda 2063. So my name is E.K Bensah Jr. Happy to welcome you into the studios of AAU TV for this very important discussion and very important show. We're going to get right into our important segments, and we'll take a break and we'll be right back. So we're zooming straight into APRM Watch, where we give you important updates on developments around the African peer review mechanism. Now, on 21st September, Kenya once again made history with the NEPAD's APRM Secretariat. That's a secretariat that deals with issues around African peer review mechanism and AU-related issues in Nairobi, where they actually engaged the Kisumu County. Kisumu is the county where Barack Obama is from. But that's not the reason why it's made news. It's the fact that they are doing a very important thing. Is the governor, Professor Anyang' Nyong'o, during the dissemination of Kenya's second APRM country review report, decided that he was very interested in seeing that there will be a domestication of the African peer review mechanism for the county. I hope we get to the stage where in Ghana we get domestication of Africa peer review mechanism for our different regions. I think that's where the APRM needs to go. Now, he, as in the professor of that, who was the county governor, is listed as being one of those governors that look forward to having the county reviewed under the country peer review mechanism. And I think that would go a long way in setting an important precedent into the fact that Africa peer review mechanism is no longer just a continental initiative, but it's a continental initiative that has gone to the point of being domesticated in every possible country. Now, an important development on the Africa peer review mechanism timeline is the fact that the South African Institute of International Affairs has formed a working group ahead of the second APRM review of South Africa. You can view more about this by checking #EngageAPRM on Facebook. But the whole idea behind that is to just really look at how the APRM will work in South Africa, whether it's governing councils, whether it's all these things. That's an important discussion that needs to be had. And of course, the APRM is itself, the headquarters is in South Africa. So it makes sense that they also need to get their developments, their issues around APRM correct and right as well. Just an important fact for you on the APRM and South Africa is that the South Africa joined the APRM when it started back in 2003. And it was reviewed in 2007. So the second review, we are keeping our fingers crossed, it will take place in 2021, as will a number of other ones. Maybe it looks like Ghana's may be included as well, and a whole number of other countries, by which time COVID would have been a bit better managed. But right now, it's unlikely that this year we'll see any country reviews, but next year, definitely a lot more will be done. So that's it for APRM watch. We hope to give you more exciting updates on that next week. We'll be right back. Okay, so welcome back from the break, and happy to always be giving you a very important update on EA and East Africa. I want to thank Beverly Eshan for the important update, helping produce this piece. Now, on the economic front, we're going to start off with the Commonwealth Summit. The Commonwealth Summit was a huge talking point before COVID hit. But now it's obviously wasn't going to happen this year. So June 2021 is the date that's been set for the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. It was originally scheduled for June 2020 in Rwanda. The meeting was to address issues concerning the global economy, trade, and sustainable development. But in a joint address, the President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, and Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland announced that the summit is to take place June 21st, 2021, and it presents a real opportunity to focus on the post-COVID-19 recovery, among other critical challenges facing the Commonwealth. So that will be a very important discussion to bookmark in your diaries, June 2021, for the Commonwealth Heads of State Summit. We're going to Kenya now, where Kenya's Chinese-built railway has turned out to be a very costly affair. Members of the National Assembly's Transport Committee, set up by the government, have called on lawmakers to push for reduced cost of the railway line, which was constructed with $4.5 billion loan from China. This comes after Kenya failed for 21 months to meet the $1 billion monthly payment since 2017, a lot of money. With the recent effects of coronavirus on several economies, Kenya is obviously affected. Kenyan lawmakers are now calling for renegotiation of the Chinese loan, and they are saying that the huge operating losses and debts to Chinese banks are straining taxpayers. So they're going to take a look at it and see what they can do to offset some of these loans. We're going to go now to flying, where Rwanda Air is to now look at stable routes as flights resume. Now, in an effort to salvage the remaining part of the year, we've just got 3 months left until the year ends already. Can you imagine? Rwanda Air is going to bank on citizen repatriation and business travelers to make some, to recoup some losses. When the airline finally resumes most of its flights on October 1st, which is this week. Due to COVID-19, the airline lost up to 45% of its annual revenue, rendering tourism as an unreliable source of revenue. Now, at the height of the pandemic, the airline cut employees' pay as a temporary measure to stay afloat. The salaries of those who have resumed work and are active have been restored to normal, but those who will resume in October will unfortunately have to wait. Some of the flights to resume on October 1st include the Kigali-Entebbe, which is Uganda, the Kigali-Brussels route, and the Kigali to London, Johannesburg, Lagos, and Accra routes. Now, let's give you a quick update on coronavirus developments in East Africa. Kenya is going to open their schools on October 19th. Bouncing back from the coronavirus, schools in Kenya are going to open October 19th to allow the Standard 8 and Form 4 learners prepare to sit for their national exams in April 2021. The school calendar has been changed because of coronavirus, so the school year will now begin in June instead of the usual January to November cycle. Thus, the first term in 2021 calendar will start in May or early June, meaning that children scheduled to join early child development education classes will be delayed for half a year. Let's quickly zoom into security. Somalia, Kenyan troops sadly have exchanged gunfire on a shared border. In the year in which we celebrate silencing the guns, that does not augur very well. But it's important to update you with these things so that we know what we need to do and to continue the campaign. The Kenyan Defense Forces and Somali National Army engaged in minutes-long firefight on Saturday at the frontier between the Somali town Bulahawo and Kenya's Mandera. This ensued after the Somali demonstrators were angry at the alleged killing of 3 civilians who approached border posts manned by the Kenyan Defense Forces, who were demanding explanations. Now, the demonstration sparked the Kenyan side to fire shots to deter the Somali demonstrators from approaching. The Somali forces close to the area intervened in the situation by engaging in a gunfight with the Kenyans. Very unfortunate. Although the Kenyan security official confirmed that there was gunfire at the border between Somali National Army and Kenyan Defense Forces, the Somali government has so far not acknowledged the incident. This is not very good. AMISOM is still fighting. AMISOM is supposed to withdraw their troops by the end of this year. With coronavirus, we don't know what's going to happen. But the rationale for AMISOM, the African Union Mission of Somalia, if it's going to stay, these are things that need to be avoided. So we hope that Kenya Defense Forces, who have been at the forefront of fighting Al-Shabaab and the terrorists, will have peace of mind to do what they need to do and fight terrorists and not be fighting their neighbors. So this brings an end to the year on East Africa. We hope to be bringing you more exciting developments which help remind us that silencing the guns is very, very, very important, as well as Agenda 2060 and the Africa we want. All of these we always need to bear in mind as we go through some of these updates. Thank you once again. We will just move quickly into our interview with Ekow Mensah. We'll be right back. Welcome back from the break. Once again, you are welcome to the studios of AAU TV, where we are giving you another edition of Agenda 2063 TV show. My name is E.K Bensah Jr., a regular host for this show. Happy to have you here with us, where today we have a very important guest to help us understand issues around women's empowerment, which is also very consistent with this whole Agenda 2063 theme. Women's empowerment is a very critical part of it, but especially now that the whole conversation around the African Continental Free Trade Area is alive, there definitely has to be a part where we look at how women can also play a critical role in that. At the end of the day, women have been playing a very important part in our lives from the very start. And even when you go to my grandmother's town, the central region, a lot of the women there had been doing after related issues long before the name African Continental Free Trade Area even came up. So it is clear that across the borders and so on, there's always going to be the role of women. And now that we have an emerging middle class as well, women's empowerment is even more critical and even more central to the whole discussion around understanding how we can, both men and women can support each other to make sure that we uplift the continent as best we can. So happy to have Ekow Mensah here with me. Ekow, welcome.
Thank you.
To the studios of AAU TV. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself for those who don't know what you. Of course, we're going to be talking about woman rising, as distinct from women rising. But first of all, a little bit about yourself, and then we'll segue that into why you decided to come up with this whole project of, the woman rising.
Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. It's nice to be back here at AAU.
Okay.
So basically, Ekow Mensah, I am. I don't think I'm too old. I'm too young or too old now. I probably am in the middle, close to middle age. So I'm looking forward to all the middle age crisis that you know. But basically, I have a degree in mathematics from Tech. I went to Infantsbim, the best high school in the world.
I see.
And then from there, I went to Tech to read mathematics. And whilst I was doing that, I took a year's course in entrepreneurship and small business management, which is something that was very interesting to me. I think I've always been enterprising, because even way back in school, where I started my first business into graphic design and doing posters for people that are going for elections and all that, and finding out that when you get into the university, you get a chance to get into a hall 1 year, and then you get out and go into a hostel. I started with a hostel the first year, and then when I heard that, if you get a position in the university, you don't leave the hall ever. So then I went for a position in second year, I got it, and I stayed in the hall. And that was where my first business started. But right from school to when I did my service as a teacher,
Okay.
And then I had the privilege of educating young people in St. Mary's, Takoradi.
Okay.
And I moved from Takoradi to Accra
Okay.
after my service to do an internship 6 months with Legacy and Legacy, because
okay.
I was following them way back when, and
Okay.
I went to see them that, oh, I like what they're doing, I would want to come on, you know. And really that's just my brush with any kind of formal employment, because immediately after the 6 months internship, I went to start my own business.
Okay.
And I've been doing that for the past 15 to 16 years.
There's a certain audacity that comes with one starting their own business. I think a lot of people are in school thinking that once they leave and they can wave a degree in front of an employer,
that's it.
It means that they have an office desk alone and all these things that come with it. What kind of audacity did you have to think that you could start your own business and make good money from that?
Well, first of all, it wasn't even about audacity or about making money. I felt that whilst you're young, experiment. You know, because when you grow to a certain extent, where you get married, you settle down and all those things, there's a level of risk you cannot take. You know, especially with the livelihood of your family and everything. So then my thinking was, there's so many things I have thought about and things I want to do and ideas I have. So whilst I'm young, I want to experiment on those things and see which ones will work and which ones will not. And of course, it's audacious because I have 3 siblings and they are all bankers, and you know how it is. So then your life gets structured very soon, and you have a lot of access to money and everything, and everybody compares. You're like, what exactly are you doing? You know? So I mean that was quite challenging. But for me, it was about, I have ideas. I can only thrive in these ideas in my own business. So let me just get in, see how these ideas will turn out. And if I get to an older age where these ideas are not working, I can still go and then find a job. Because by then, my mates who went to look for a job will probably be in positions that I can, you know, take advantage of. So that was my mindset, really. But then when I started, I realized that, especially with the program I did while I was in tech, entrepreneurship and small business management, I realized at first hand the challenges that young people face. Because it is not the norm. It's like going against the tide. You know, as you said, you need some level of audacity to be able to really want to set up your own business. So I realized the non-existent support system that people, especially young people who want to go into business, did not have. You know, so the moment you want to go into business, it's like you're on your own. And
because there's no angel investor
nothing.
or
I mean,
anything like that.
There's no, as at the time we're doing this whole entrepreneurship thing, there was absolutely no ecosystem. You know, and I'm happy that some of the dreams we had years ago, 10, 15 years ago, are now actually actualizing, and we're excited about it. So the whole point was, who helps the people that really want to go the other way? So that they are not seen as deviants. They are not seen as, you know, you're stubborn, everybody's going to look for a job. And that was how I was seen as at a point. Like, but you have a qualification, you're good. So why can't you just look for a job and settle down and all that? So the whole point of even setting up my social enterprise, NGO then social enterprise now, is to provide a certain level of support to young people that want to go into their own business, so that it doesn't feel too lonely and too difficult. And that was how I started TANO, just to provide support for myself and anybody like me who wants to go into business.
So TANO is what exactly, for those
the
who want to know?
African Network of Entrepreneurs.
Okay, and it was started here in Accra?
It was started in Accra. Actually, my first office was at Busy Internet.
Okay.
I remember when we started, my mate and myself, a friend of mine, we went to see she runs the alphabets now, Google. Estelle. So we went to see her, amazing woman, that we had a proposal. You know, because then the Busy Internet was buzzing and everything, you know. So we're like, oh, we are young people, want to start this network. We'll bring a lot of young people, so they'll come and browse and use the internet. So give us an office space, so that in exchange, and we actually got an office space, you know. So that was actually the first time we knew that starting and running a business is not necessarily dependent on money. It's just connection and what your solution is.
Networking.
So our first office was Busy Internet, and then we moved to the Loom. And then we moved to Abeka Junction, where we got our own small office. And then we've been moving. Now we are currently at Dansoman. where our Tano Hub head office is.
Oh, I see. I understand. Because a very good friend of mine who actually happens to live around that area. She's called Naklenkwi. She first told me about Tano a couple of years ago. I don't know if the name is familiar to you, Naklenkwi.
Yes, I'm trying. When you mentioned, I was trying to connect with the business she does, but forgive me now.
Yeah, I think she's into sewing and things like that. And so at the time, like, I'm the kind of guy who's always on the lookout for these kind of African businesses. And then I didn't know of this business. And then to find out that 5 years down the line, you've been doing such great work. So congratulations. But there's an interesting, narrative from you in the sense that you're realizing that something needs to be done for young people. But then how does that then go into you realizing that you need to do something for women as well?
Okay.
And of course, you come from a family where there are more
very
women.
feminine, powered family. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
So, I mean, Tano itself is over 10 years old.
Yeah.
And in the process of time, with most of the initiatives and things that we're doing, we realized that the active participation of women compared to men was really not that encouraging.
Okay.
And we figured that it was because we weren't necessarily tailoring our programs to suit their needs.
Okay.
Women and men may have similar needs, but they are very different.
Yes.
Especially when you want to provide some sort of solutions to them. The way they use their time, the resources available to them, the way their mindsets are, their risk levels and all those things. I mean, being careful not to overgeneralize, but men and women are very different, especially when it comes to so many different factors. So in doing a lot of the things we do with Tano, we realize that if we don't focus and bring solutions that are tailored for women, we probably will still keep losing them. You know, in our efforts to provide a support system for them. So when we realized that, we didn't right away start with creating our own system. So we heard about the then UT Bank initiative called ANKOMAH.
Okay.
So they were providing support for women, entrepreneurs, professionals and all that. And we went to make a pitch. That, I mean, we've been doing this for a while, so we can handle it better than you guys because you're bankers. I mean, it was pretty audacious.
Again, precisely.
So we went, Letitia, then the head of the unit was called Letitia, and she was amazing, very receptive. She put her team together. We came to do a proposal of how we can manage this project and then what our value proposition would be. So fortunately, we got to be on that project for 2 years.
Okay.
And then, of course, you know how these corporate institutions are. So there was a timeline to the project. So when the project was about to end, we decided to set up something, you know. So the tagline we're giving was a woman rising.
Okay.
You know, so then we decided that, okay, fine, if ANKOMAH is going to end, then we could just set up our own unit called Woman Rising.
Okay.
And then the moment ANKOMAH ends, we can carry on with it.
Okay.
But the question was, why would you, a guy, want to do it? And I must say, I faced a lot of oppositions, not even from guys, but from women.
Okay.
You know, they were always suspecting me that I had an agenda or a motive.
Gosh.
So whenever we called, I mean, there were many times we did programs. We had a program called the Woman Rising Click, which was a small unit of intense conversations about life, business, and all that. And I can tell you that every time we had a Woman Rising Click, I had to excuse them. I don't know what I always say that, like, what are you guys talking about? That is so top secret that men and even the founder of Women Rising cannot be. Like, they kept saying some things are for men only. I mean, for women only. So that I had a community manager who was a woman, so who used to handle those things. I mean, most of my community managers have been women, especially for Women Rising. But women are very protective of their own genders and all those things. And sometimes I just wish that they will extend it to the overall womanhood, like they will really run the world. You know? So basically, the transition from ANKOMAH went into Women Rising, and that's what it is now. And 5 years down the line, after setting up Women Rising fully, we have over 2,000 plus registered members across 9 different countries.
9 different countries? What are some of these countries?
We have Nigeria, we have Togo, we have Cameroon, we have Uganda, Rwanda, US, India, UK, and then Ghana.
How did they hear about this? Was this through social networking?
Internet. The social media.
Okay. And they pay a fees?
Well, we have different membership types. We have the affiliate membership type, which is free, with limited benefits. And then we have the business membership type, and we have the personal membership type. Under the business, we have 2 types, which is a standard and the premium. And then under the personal, we also have standard and premium. And basically, all these come with different annual subscription fees and benefits.
Okay, and in essence, that's what you use to run the organization, or part of it.
So there are two types. There are 2 sides to it. So we provide services in partnership with the businesses in the network in exchange for commissions. And then we also run through the dues, but we also have partners. We're going to, on the 7th of November, we have the Women's CEO Summit. So we organize the Women's CEO Summit in its 3rd edition. And then we are happy to have Invest in Africa on board through their Africa Works program with MasterCard that funding. So occasionally we get corporate sponsors and partners on board, and through that we are able to run our project. Okay.
And how does it feel knowing that you set up an organization like TANO, and then it has moved on to something like Women Rising, happening and predating the African Continental Free Trade Area? How does it feel knowing that now there's a larger market that you can take advantage of?
Well, we're very excited about it. Honestly, one of the biggest things that we always tell and we always face and try to address is women. Well, generally, women have very big and lofty dreams. And sometimes when you hear some of these dreams, and you look at the markets that we are in, especially in Ghana, it's too small. And it doesn't even take science to be able to tell that, listen, this won't come to pass if your market is only here. You know, because the market is too small, you know, and to be able to achieve some of these very audacious dreams, especially for the women that we have in Women Rising, you need to go beyond your comfort zone. You need to go beyond your immediate market. And then when we heard about AfCFTA, we're like, this is it, you know, because inter-Africa trade is very expensive. It's very complex. It's very expensive. I mean, I was a consultant for British Council for 8 years, and then I trained in about 11 African countries. And just moving from one country to the other is just crazy. You know, so then when we heard about AfCFTA, we're like, okay, this is an opportunity where with everything that we've tried to do with the women and even the men, because we serve both women, and the youth, we serve students, and we serve SMEs as well. So with all that we've been trying to do, this is an opportunity to properly position women entrepreneurs especially to be able to, you know, attract and then fully utilize the opportunities that AfCFTA presents. So we really, really are excited about AfCFTA. We are looking at how do we position them to properly benefit from this.
And to a lot of the women, how have they, in your view, how have they understood the whole concept of the African Continental Free Trade Area? Is it just another private sector opportunity, or is it something a bit larger than that?
Well, unfortunately, through our survey with even our 2,000 plus members, some of them don't even know about it.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they've heard about it, but they're not really, because there hasn't been a structured, intentional capacity building to educate them about AfCFTA and what it stands for. In fact, for most of the people that we saw had heard about it, it was because the Secretariat was located here and there was quite a number of buzz around it. And that's how they've heard about it. But most people were not really sure about what it was and what their benefits could be. So then we decided to set up the Women Rising AfCFTA Opportunity Maximization Program, which is the Women Rising AOMP, which is supposed to do 3 main things. Build their capacity and knowledge about what AfCFTA is, build their business and their structures and systems in such a way that they can fully utilize, you know, opportunities that AfCFTA presents, and then grant them some sort of support with accessing finance that would enable them to trade beyond, you know, the various localities. So those are the 3 things that we're trying to do with the Women Rising AfCFTA Opportunity Maximization Program. And as I told you earlier, it is still something that we are setting up as part of our next 5-year strategic plan. We are 5 years on the 5th of October. And after the 5th of October to the next 2025 or 2026, we are going to really fully do this AfCFTA Opportunity Maximization Program and educate, build the capacities of the women businesses, and then give them like resources that will give them access to finance to be able to finance their operations and business across the the countries that they are currently in.
Okay, and on that note, we're going to take a break in a minute, and then we'll be right back for you to help us understand.
Break it down.
All right. Welcome back from the break, and we have today in the studios a very special guest, as always. We have Ekow Mensah, founder of Woman Rising, helping us understand why it's important to also build and support women in all shapes and forms. It's, over the past 5 years, he's been doing a lot of great things with a lot of great women as well, around building the capacity of women and also making sure that they can have some value added to the work that they do, entrepreneurship, and so on. But we're focusing right now on the conversation around the fact that he has come at a point where the African Continental Free Trade Area is here, and therefore how he is positioning the organization of Women Rising to respond to that through what they call the OMP program. He's helping us understand what it is about. So Ekow, thank you once again for being with us. And so this OMP sounds like a very, very important program to run. And how has the response been so far from your membership? How have they viewed it? I mean, at least I'm sure you've sounded some of it to them.
Oh yes.
On the
we're actually having a Zoom meeting next week about it as part of our fifth year anniversary rollout plan. But it is exciting to a lot of people, even though a lot of people see it as very audacious. As I told you, most women go into business as a form of convenience. And to also free themselves time to take care of other things that to them are more important than money. It's different with men. Men mostly, and forgive me for generalizing again, but men mostly do business as a form of building their ego, building their personalities, and then it's a lifestyle to them. And success in business adds up to who the person is. It's part of their personality.
I see.
But for women, for most of the women that I have encountered, and I've encountered quite a number of them, going into business is mostly for convenience. Maybe they are doing a 9 to 5 and they are not having time for family. Maybe when they were young, they were in full-time employment. They've gotten married, they have kids, and they look at how they're not getting time to spend with their family, how they're not getting time to raise their kids, so they decide to start a business. So their motive for starting a business is not necessarily to build a big business. So in trying to, you see something that a woman is doing, you think it has a lot of potential, and you're wondering, why haven't you expanded this? Why haven't you opened branches? Why haven't you, and women are very risk careful. They don't want to do stuff that they will lose control of. They want to be able to guarantee to some level that if they said they would do this, your expectations will be met. And that's why when a woman is doing something, largely it's going to end up well. Because their reputation is almost always on the line. But they don't easily expand their business because they don't want to lose sight of so many things that to them are very important. One is family. Family for a woman would always come before business and money. But it's not the same for men.
Even though men are the ones who start families.
Exactly, that's why typically for most kids they are closer to their moms than their dads. Even though there was a complaint by a friend of mine that he's working hard, bringing in money and everything, but every time in the course of the year, Mother's Day, they celebrate the mother more than and the mother is just home. I mean, this is all by the side. But all I'm saying is the after looks big for a lot of our members. It looks like, oh wow, even Ghana, we are not local champions, so how do we move beyond Ghana to now go into other markets that seemingly is unknown to them? How do we raise the money? So are we going to leave our kids? There's so many questions around the after program. That's why I'm saying that a lot of them are not necessarily familiar with it and its benefits and opportunities. And that's why we are taking upon ourselves for a consistent, to consistently educate them
Okay.
about the need, the importance, and their rights and responsibilities to the program. And not just that, but how do we enable them to get out of the whole mindset of, well, I want to keep it small and safe, this can be big, and can go beyond what you're even looking at. How do we get them to see? And one of the things that women are mostly careful about is owing.
Yes.
They don't
like that.
They don't like that.
Yeah.
They don't like that. So
Okay.
they would want to bootstrap their way to success. And that's what guarantees a lot of the sustainability when it comes to their business. A woman's business can be there for forever, but it's still very small, very safe, and it's still making them enough money to survive. So because of that, they look at, oh, if I go for money to put in my business, like they just don't like that. But I like the new crop of women that are coming, the millennials. They are bold, they are audacious, they like adventure, and in talking to them, you realize that they would be more receptive, especially from, let's say, from 21 all the way to about 40. They will be probably more receptive than those that have gone beyond 40, even though the 40 ones are also very interested. So as part of our implementation plan for the OMP, we put it together a steering committee made up of at least representatives from all these countries that Women Rising is in, and also from quite a number of local volunteers to be able to put a concrete plan together on how we can meet those 3 targets that we have given ourselves: building personal capacity, building capacity of the women, building capacity of the businesses, and granting them access to finance, and then ensure their business are credit ready and investment ready to be able to attract the financing to enable them to grow beyond their immediate market. So basically that's what we are doing, and it's going well so far. We
thank God for that, because I'm sure you'll understand that with Accra now being the newest diplomatic capital, there's going to be a lot of competition from all over. Of course, you have members from all over already, but I mean, how well is your membership also foreseeing this kind of keen competition? Because I mean, when you look online, there are a whole slew of networks that have popped up because
of AfCFTA.
Responding to AfCFTA, including, I think in Nigeria, there's even an AfCFTA women's network. And so on. So already it's so clear.
It's clear.
They are ready on poise. So how would you deal with this kind of competition for your membership as well? Because some may either stay or decide to move or just give up on the whole idea. How would you be able to help manage that as well?
Well, personally, and also for most of the people under TANO and Women Rising, one thing that we encourage is collaboration beyond competition. And I think that also that is one thing that would guarantee the success of the AfCFTA program itself. If we feel in competition with each other, it's going to fail. The whole point that we've not been able to even get enough, I mean, we've gotten enough to rectify, but then we've not gotten enough people. We have 54, we still at 22, 23. It's this whole concept of competition. I don't think that it's healthy. I think that if we look at, because most sectors have this whole value chain, and depending on where we are playing and specializing, we can all eat. The whole scarcity mentality and then pull me down and all those things are actually why we are still where we are as an African continent. So as TANO, as Women Rising, we really encourage collaboration. Honestly, we are not making that much money. I mean, I'm not making any profit from what I'm doing. It's purely positioning the people that are in private sector for the future that we all hope to get. Because if those ones that are currently in it are not well positioned, then those ones are coming will copy the same things, and then they'll
make the same mistakes.
So first of all, we tell them that, listen, it's not about competition. If you move from one place to the other because you feel more comfortable, it's fine, as long as we can still communicate and bridges have not been bent.
That's the most important.
And unfortunately, it's very stiff with women. Women are very protective of their environment. Women are very protective of their knowledge, protective of their, and that's why you don't see a lot of them in camera like this. A lot of them would not. They would give anything not to be in front of a camera. And that's one of the things we do. Because one of the major arms of Women Rising is personal branding. We want more women to get in front of the camera. We want more women to get out there and tell their story. Because otherwise, it is the ones we hear that will shape the mindsets of the next generation. And what do we hear? This whole celebrity this, celebrity that. But I have personally met women that are working hard every day to build things that will outlive them, but they will never get in front of the camera because of the same notion of competition and people trying to pull them down. So for us, we really encourage collaborations. What are you doing? What are we doing? How do we do it better? And you know, one of the things that After seeks to do is to be able to get a lot more finished products out there. Not just the raw material. I mean, that's what Africa has suffered for a long time. So that how do you get finished product out there? It has a whole value chain from the farm to the factory to the market to the... So everybody would eat if we do it right. You know, so basically we don't see competition, honestly. If you're doing something similar we are doing, if we can collaborate, we would. If we can't, we'll still. And that's why it is not necessarily women rising, but woman rising. Because we are looking at the collective, individualized success of each member. Be successful on your own, but then let's collaborate. So do what you're doing. I'm not going to tell you do it with this person by force, but with what you're doing, you're succeeding at it. If somebody else is doing something that they are succeeded, how do we come together?
I think on that important note, we can really say thank you so very much for coming to speak with us, Ekow Mensah, founder of Women Rising. I think the central message, and which also underpins the whole conversation on Agenda 2063, for Aspiration 7 talks about the AU becoming a global player. And we can only become a global player if all of us, we bring our collective strengths together and not have it in individualized spaces. And I think the role of women certainly is critical in that. So thank you so very much. We hope to be speaking to you more often in different spaces so that we can also help beef up the conversation on how we can scale up some of these initiatives that are happening. So thank you once again, Ekow, for coming.
You for the invitation.
And to you, honorable guests, wherever you may be, whether you're watching us from your laptops or your homes or wherever, thank you so very much for taking time out to watch us. It's always a pleasure giving you different understanding and different interviews to help shape your perception of how Africa can work. Remember, I keep speaking to the whole issue of Aspiration 7 of the AU as a global player. It is possible. We can get to the Africa we want. We are on our way, not necessarily because of the African Continental Free Trade Area, but in spite of it. And therefore, let us all seek to also know what the Agenda 2063 is about. It's not that long to read. So if you have your booklet somewhere, you can go and download it from Google or wherever and just take a look through what it means to you, how you understand it. And if you don't understand, you can always come to AAU TV and they'll help you break it down for you. So once again, thank you. At AAU_67 is Twitter. On Facebook, it's Association of African Universities. And that's also on YouTube. So thank you once again. My name is E.K Bensah Jr., your regular host. Hope to come to you next week for another interesting edition. Have a great day. Goodbye.